शुरू अल्लाह के नाम से। मैं उसामा अकरम आप तमाम हाज़रीन और नाज़रीन का डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ सोशियोलॉजी की जानिब से, मौलाना आज़ाद नेशनल उर्दू यूनिवर्सिटी की जानिब से इस हफ्त रोज़ा वर्कशॉप के 5वें और आखिरी दिन इस सेशन में इस्तकबाल करता हूँ। हमारे लिए बड़ी सादत और खुशनसीबी की बात है कि हमारी इज़्ज़त अफजाई और इस महफिल को रौनक बख्शने के लिए ऑनरेबल वाइस चांसलर हमारे दरमियान मौजूद हैं। मैं प्रोफेसर सैयद ऐनुल हसन साहब से गुजारिश करता हूँ कि वो स्टेज पर जलवा अफरोज़ हों। साथ ही साथ मैं जनाब प्रोफेसर PH मोहम्मद सर से भी गुजारिश करता हूँ कि स्टेज पर जलवा अफरोज़ हों। साथ में डॉक्टर KM ज़ियाउद्दीन से भी गुजारिश है कि वो स्टेज पर जलवा अफरोज़ हों। हमारे डिपार्टमेंट के सरबराह और रहनुमा प्रोफेसर PH मोहम्मद सर से गुजारिश है कि इस महफिल में वेलकम एड्रेस करें। जनाब प्रोफेसर PH मोहम्मद साहब।
Assalamu alaikum. Adab. Good morning to everybody. Friends, we had this 1 week research methodology program organized by the Department of Sociology. It started on 13th June. And before I speak about this, say a few things about this methodology and Department of Sociology, I, from depth of my heart, I welcome Professor Syed Ainul Hasan Saab, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of MANUU. We are grateful to you, sir, that you have accepted our request. And despite of your busy schedule, you are here today. That shows your interest and your your interest to the things that have been carried out in the university by the departments. Thank you very much, sir, for your presence here. Friends, ये जो research methodology course जो थी, it speaks about the bringing out the solutions for finding out solutions for the human variability. जब there was an inquisite, there was a quest, there was an enthusiasm for understanding the human variability. There were voyages and expeditions to understand different cultures, different traditions, different manners, different languages, and all that. And following that, there was in the 15th century to 19th century, there was a lot of activity carried out in this regard. And thus, we have a research methodology course itself, a program itself, a tradition of research methodology itself has come out. There have been various dimensions added to this, and to bring it out, and also to carry it further. There have been different disciplines, adapting to it, and flashing their own outlooks to develop, add their dimensions to this research methodology. Thus, and research methodology has been evolved into a very scientific and systematic arena in the whole of understanding the human variability and human development and all. So this methodology course is one such addition that we planned from the department side to imbibe, transfer our knowledge and transfer the knowledge that the intellectuals have, that we have identified, that in this whole, the only person who has taken this forward and who has struggled all through and who has kept it on the track is Dr. Ziauddin. Just with a small word in the departmental committee meeting that came up for the discussion, then Ziauddin very boldly he came out and he gave a proposal, and we sent it, and we started this program. And I appreciate the efforts of KM Ziauddin, my colleague KM Ziauddin, and my other colleagues, Dr. Sahid and Etesham Akhtar. Though, sir, we are a very tiny department, but we have been meeting these challenges quite often and placing very larger programs. Like I was mentioning in the inaugural session also, that there was no mention of persons like Ibn Khaldun in the Sociology of India, we took up the event. We organized a seminar, and after that, there was a lot of debate about Ibn Khaldun and his contributions to sociology, because he is considered as the father of sociology, rather. So such events we have organized in the past several times, sir, and this is one among them. And also, since the beginning of the Department of Sociology, we started started only BA pro. We had only BA program. Then we added with MA program. Then PhD program. We have very vibrant and very proactive PhD scholars with us, working on different dimensions under the different dimension, different uh, issues of social importance in the department. So, with all this, sir, what I would like to place before you is that the Department of Sociology is forging ahead with meeting all the objectives of the department and also the university. It is in doing its best to bring the university into limelight and to add its fame of the university. So, with these few words, sir, I would like to thank you once again, and I would like to congratulate once again the organizer, Professor Dr. K.M. Ziauddin, for organizing such an event. Thank you, one and all. Thank you very much.
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया सर। इसके बाद प्रोग्राम को आगे बढ़ाते हुए इस प्रोग्राम के इस पूरे वर्कशॉप के तारुफ और अब तक 4 दिन के रिकैप के लिए मैं इस वर्कशॉप के रूह रवा और हमारे गाइड कोऑर्डिनेटर डॉक्टर के.एम. ज़ियाउद्दीन साहब से गुजारिश करता हूं कि अपनी बात रखें।
गुड मॉर्निंग, अस्सलाम वालेकुम। बहुत शुक्रिया उसामा। ये किसी डिपार्टमेंट के लिए ही नहीं बल्कि हर एक टीचर के लिए फ़ख्र की बात होती है जब किसी भी ऐसे प्रोग्राम को जो पूरे 1 हफ्ते के वक्त के दौरान चल रहा हो और उसे पूरी तरह से स्टूडेंट्स ने मैनेज किया हो। मैंने सिर्फ कॉन्सेप्ट नोट बनाई थी और रिसोर्स पर्सन से राब्ता हासिल किया था, उन्होंने अपनी हामी दी। उसके बाद तमाम पहले दिन से लेके आज तक के तमाम एक्टिविटीज़ को हमारे डिपार्टमेंट के और दूसरे डिपार्टमेंट जो इसमें शामिल हैं, उन लोगों ने इस प्रोग्राम को दरअसल मुनक्कद किया है। इसलिए आप तमाम को मुबारकबाद कि आपने इस प्रोग्राम को बखूबी 1 हफ्ते तक चलाया। और जनरली हमें बहुत टेक्निकल प्रॉब्लम्स होते हैं, हमने वेन्यू भी शिफ्ट किया, लेकिन प्रोग्राम डिस्टर्ब नहीं हुआ और हर दिन लेक्चर इंटरैक्टिव सेशन चल रहा है। इसलिए मैं बहुत खुश हूँ। मैं आई एम रियली वेरी सेटिस्फाइड फॉर दैट। Why we want to do research methodology workshop is very important question. We debate not only in the department but also in various academic forum. And individually, all of you know, I have been sharing that even in Indian Sociological Society, we debate a lot about methodology. The question of methodology comes when you start doing research on various communities. You know, for example, subject like sociology talks about people who live in the present life, everyday life, and we do not have nuanced methodological interventions to understand them. And for example, doing research on minorities, doing research on Dalits, doing research on excluded communities have been a challenging task for all of us as a student or as a researcher. And that comes quite often. And all our senior Indian sociologists or our teachers have been saying that everyone has to be involving themselves into the field, doing field and engaging with the field will tell you how to do research. And this is one area how we deal in sociology. But the second question is that are we really equipped with the kind of tools and techniques required doing any research, which is very challenging. And we find in the department also that what is happening, we used to have very intensive program. For example, MPhil was one of the curriculum initially that you do pre-PhD program. So you learn a lot about research methods. Now a student in master's immediately gets into PhD programs, are not equipped with theories, and then how all those theories are not really helpful into the field. the macro level theories which is there in our subject are not really going to help in dealing the kind of challenges and problems we face in the field. So by last couple of years, I felt that it is very important to have a regular interactions with the researcher and academia, not from the university, but also from the outside. And COVID gave me this one opportunity that during COVID, we could have many online and people, we could invite people not only from the country, but also from outside, so that students find that what kind of research our elder sociologists are doing. So with this background, when we were discussing in the department felt that yes, we can do it. And there is always limitations of how do you involve best academia and sociology is challenging. And this may be exaggerating the situations, but then let me also tell you that when our vice chancellor, the current honorable vice chancellor, joined this university, many of our teachers said that now you will have better better environment. And that was one reason that perhaps initially in this year we had a major event on behalf of the department. Sociology of Margin was one of the major online seminar where honorable vice chancellor chaired the inaugural session. Professor Sukhdev Thorat was there, Professor Vivek Kumar, Professor Anand Kumar, and many elder sociologists whose books we read in masters. So that gives a lot of insight. Why? Because this is after our seminar, I got couple of mails and several messages that we never discussed sociology margin in Indian sociology. And MANUU has done one initiative, and you should go forward. You should request the scholars, scholars who were then in sociology margin webinar. They were discussing methodological nuances, how to understand the margin in India. We have studied a lot margin in American context, in some of the Latin America, but not much in Indian context. So that project is one of the challenge in Indian sociological curriculum we discuss, and Department of Sociology took that initiative. Was really a great achievement. And from there we thought we have to also engage with our own students, learning and doing field. Sir, we in the master's course, we do have a dissertation. In some of the universities, we call it participatory sociology, where students at the last semester of their course, we engage them with the civil society organizations, with the research institutions, or directly to the field where they go themselves under the supervision of a teacher. And then they do data collections and understand what they're reading in the course and is there any relevance. Because quite often economists say that sociology have not done any contribution to Indian planning and policy. And why? Because the kind of rigorous we have in 1970s, 80s, late 80s, the research into the field gradually shifted, and we are not doing much empirical research. So master program where you have participatory sociology is one forum where we go to the field. For example, the current batch, they were sharing that we went to Rasulpura slum, one of the largest slum in southern states, where 1.5 lakh urban population is there. Some students are working on gender equality, some students working with the livelihood, and with the organization which is working in Hyderabad. That will really bring and strengthen our curriculum in future. And for that, we wanted to have not only PhD students, but also master students. So here, generally, in all research courses, MA students are not given chance. But we thought that since you do not have MPhil program, so master students should be given chance here. And here, half of the participants are the students from master's program who are interested to learn methodology. Second is that we thought that we could have and we should have, this is in my mind generally, that we should have more inter-department interactions. And that is very important because sociology and other disciplines should be more interdisciplinary in terms of engaging each other. So we open the participations not for the department, but the entire social sciences department. And since you do not have extra space, so we have to limit to 50 to 54 as per the availability of the capacity of halls. So we have participants who are doing PhD from other departments, so economics, history, political science, public administrations, and political science. They have, and social work. All of them are here, and at the end of everyday sessions, they have been engaging to, truly very seriously and about knowing things, because the evening we get in email from the resource persons that the interaction was very fruitful. So I think the engagement and interaction is the only area which I personally and the department wanted that we should have with the outside resource person. Many of the researchers who professors who deliver talks are very good researchers. They have done thousands and thousands of interviews into the field. So when you do talk to people in thousands of number, you learn about a lot about the nuances and problems of the field. So research methodology workshop was not about theory in the whole 1 week program, because we teach classroom. In the classroom we are teaching already theoretical aspects. Here we wanted to have others perspective, other for example, Zakaria, who is based in Australia, but then he was here in India and he agreed. He over the last 10 to 15 years, what kind of problems he faced, and then people liked it, that how to handle your PhD research methodological questions, and those questions are always in everyone's mind, but then we do not talk to our own teachers, and that has to be broken down in such workshops. So perhaps we'll be getting now after this that many of you would have some questions, some feelings, or any comments, any issues which you can share. Osama must have planned about it. But the last thing that is very important to us, that the workshop is not important, but then the diversity in the workshop was very important, and that diversity is always, any diversity is represented by the person who encouraged to have those diversities. And for that we have our honorable vice chancellor, who has always encouraged us to do all academic all such academic work and initiative. So I personally also thank you, sir. Thank you so much for having given just a day before I requested your gracious presence, and then you accepted. And it is a great moment for us, not only encouragement, but also to guide us doing much more academic and relevant workshop in future. And I thank you again for gracing this occasion. Thank you so much.
हाज़रीन इकराम, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया सर। हाज़रीन इकराम, अब मौका है आपके तासुरात और तजावीज़ का। मैं पार्टिसिपेंट से गुजारिश करता हूं कि इस मौके से अपने तासुरात, तजावीज़, कोई सवाल हो तो वह यहाँ रखें, क्योंकि आपके तासुरात और तजावीज़ ख़ुद इस वर्कशॉप के लिए और डिपार्टमेंट के लिए बहुत कारआमद साबित होंगे और बहुत मुफीद होंगे। तो आपसे गुजारिश है कि विदाउट नो हेजिटेशन प्लीज़ कम एंड एक्सप्रेस।
अस्सलामु अलैकुम वरहमतुल्लाहि वबरकातुहू। ये 5 रोज़ा वर्कशॉप हमारे लिए बहुत ही इंफॉर्मेटिव और स्टिम्युलेटिंग रहा। तमाम जो स्पीकर्स के ज़रिए पीपीटी इस्तेमाल किए गए थे वो बहुत ही आसान और काबिल फ़हम रहे। रिसर्च मेथोडोलॉजी से मुतालिक जितने भी मेरे जहन में शक व शुबहात थे, ये वर्कशॉप के ज़रिए मैं उनसे काफ़ी हद तक बाहर आई हूँ, वो मुझसे दूर हुए हैं। और मुझे उम्मीद है कि यहाँ तमाम मौजूद जितने भी स्पीकर्स रहे हैं, उन्होंने जो भी हमें गाइडलाइंस दी है वो मैं अपने रिसर्च मेथोडोलॉजी में या अपने डिसर्टेशन में बखूबी अंजाम दूंगी। एक छोटा सा मशवरा मेरा ये है कि इसमें जो पीपीटी प्रेजेंट किए गए थे, उस पीपीटीज़ में अगर कुछ कलरफुल तस्वीर या जो भी स्पीकर्स मौजूद थे उनसे उनके ज़रिए किए गए रिसर्च वर्क को अगर वो प्रेजेंट करते तो ये बहुत ही इंटरैक्टिव और ज़्यादा इफेक्टिव होता। आखिर में मैं आप सबकी बहुत शुक्रगुजार हूँ कि जिन्होंने मुझे मौका दिया कि मैं अपने तासुरात पेश करूँ। बहुत शुक्रिया।
अस्सलाम वालेकुम। मैं आफरीन बेगम डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ सोशियोलॉजी की रिसर्च स्कॉलर हूँ। इस वर्कशॉप से मुझे कई बुनियादी चीज़ें जो रिसर्च मेथोडोलॉजी से मुताल्लुक़ हैं उन सबको सीखने का मुझे यहाँ मौका मिला। और जैसा कि पहले सेशन में मैडम ने शर्मिष्ठा मैडम ने क्वालिटेटिव रिसर्च के बारे में हमें तफसीली समझाया, तफसीली उन्होंने अपना लेक्चर बयान किया। उसी दिन दूसरा सेशन जो प्रोफेसर शाहिद रज़ा सर राइटिंग डिसर्टेशन पे उन्होंने अपना लेक्चर दिया, जिसमें मास्टर्स के बच्चों के साथ साथ रिसर्च स्कॉलर को भी काफ़ी फ़ायदा हासिल हुआ है। उसके बाद जो संघमित्रा मैडम, प्रोफेसर संघमित्रा आचार्य मैम, उन्होंने बहुत अहम मौजू जो रिसर्च स्कॉलर के लिए या मास्टर्स के लिए या पीएचडी के लिए हाइपोथेसिस किसी भी तहकीक के लिए बहुत अहमियत रखता है, उससे मुताल्लिक़ उन्होंने काफ़ी तफसीली अपना लेक्चर दिया। और तीसरा सेशन था ज़करिया सर का, जिसमें उन्होंने एम्पिरिकल रिसर्च और सोशल साइंस और नेचुरल साइंस के दरमियान किस तरह से तहकीक की जा सकती है, उसके बारे में हमें बहुत ही तफसीली लेक्चर उन्होंने दिया। और सरोज कुमार सर, उन्होंने सोशियोलॉजिस्ट के जो कॉन्सेप्ट्स थे उनको हम किस तरह से अपनी तहकीक में जोड़ सकते हैं और प्रेजेंट तहकीक जो हम कर रहे हैं उसमें किस तरह से जोड़ सकते हैं, इन सबको बहुत ही बेहतर अंदाज से हमें आसान लफ्ज़ों में हमें सर ने अपना जो भी लेक्चर था वो दिया। मेरा एक सजेशन और एक रिक्वेस्ट ये है कि मैं चाहती हूँ कि आइंदा भी हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी से रिसर्च मेथोडोलॉजी के वर्कशॉप हो जिसमें प्रैक्टिकल सेशन हो, जैसा डाटा एनालिसिस टेक्निक्स हैं और रेफरेंस देने के जो टेक्निक्स हैं उस पर हमें वर्कशॉप हो तो हम इससे बहुत कुछ सीख सकते हैं। शुक्रिया बहुत।
Assalamu alaikum everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Zia sir for organizing this workshop. Hora Jafri, Center for Study of Social Exclusion and Inclusive Policy. Because during the recent pandemic, online education was difficult for us to manage and we required such kind of workshops. My sincere thanks to all the resource persons, including Professor Sharmista Bhattacharya ji, who has talked on qualitative research in social science, and Professor Shahid Raza talked about writing dissertation. On second day, Professor Sangamitra Acharya delivered lecture on hypothesis, reliability, and validity in social science research. And day 3, Professor Zakaria talked about framework of empirical methodology. Day 4, Dr. Saroj Kumar Dal enlightened us about current trends and challenges in social science research. This workshop covered most of the technicalities related to the research methodology, and I'm sure the concept discussed here will be beneficial for me and all the participants here. I learned a lot from this workshop, and this workshop was really inspiring. It exceeded my expectations, really worth it, and it is applicable also. और आखिर में मेरी गुजारिश है जिया सर से कि हम उम्मीद करते हैं कि आप आइंदा वक्त में ऐसी वर्कशॉप्स ऑर्गेनाइज करें जिससे हम बहुत फ़ायदा उठा सकें। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया।
अस्सलाम वालेकुम। इज़्ज़त माब वाजिबुल एहतराम शेखुल जामिया साहब, डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ सोशोलॉजी के एचओडी पीएच मोहम्मद साहब और रिस्पेक्टेड केएम ज़िया साहब। मैं असदुर रहमान डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन से, क्योंकि कोविड के बाद ये पहली हमारी फिज़िकल मीट है इस हॉल में और यहाँ पे मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा इस रिसर्च मेथोडोलॉजी की वर्कशॉप में, क्योंकि सीखने के लिए आते हैं और वर्कशॉप से हम काफ़ी कुछ सीख के जाते हैं। कॉमन सी बात है, जो इस जहन से आएगा कि मैंने सीखना है वो कुछ सीख के जाएगा। लेकिन ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन में, ऑनलाइन वर्कशॉप्स में और इस फिजिकल मीट में एक फ़र्क है, जो ये है कि हम एक दूसरे से मिलते भी हैं और अपने आइडियाज़ को शेयर करते हैं, जिसमें हम काफ़ी हद तक कामयाब भी हुए हैं। اس لیے سر میں آپ کو اسپیشلی مبارکباد دیتا ہوں اور ڈپارٹمنٹ آف سوشالوجی کا شکر گزار ہوں کہ انہوں نے یہ ریسرچ میتھڈولوجی کی ورکشاپ کا انیشیٹو لے کے ہمیں اس کا موقع دیا کہ ہم یہاں آ کے اپنے خیالات کا اظہار کر سکیں اور ایک دوسرے کے ساتھ بات چیت کرنے کے بعد کچھ سیکھ سکیں. شکریہ سر. جہاں تک اس ورکشاپ کا تعلق سے میں بات کروں تو جتنے بھی جو سپیکرز تھے سر کافی ہمبل تھے, بہت اچھے پولائٹ طریقے سے ہر چیز کو بہت آسانی سے ہمارے سامنے پیش کیا. جو بھی ہمارے سوالات تھے چاہے وہ ریپیٹڈ تھے یا دو سوال تھے ایک اسکالر کے, انہوں نے اس کو بہت ہی آسانی سے ہمیں بتایا اور بغیر کسی ہچکچاہٹ کے ہم نے وہ سوال پوچھے اور اس جو ریسرچ میتھڈولوجی کی ورکشاپ تھی اس سے ہم نے کافی کچھ سیکھا. تو میں امید کرتا ہوں سر کہ آئندہ بھی آپ ایسے انیشیٹو لیتے رہیں گے اور ہمیں موقع فراہم کرتے رہیں گے کہ ہم یہاں آ کے اپنے جو نالج ہے اس میں اضافہ کریں. شکریہ. جزاک اللہ.
نہیں منت کشتاب شنیدن داستاں میری, خاموشی گفتگو ہے بے زبانی ہے زباں میری. اور یہ کیسا دستور زباں بندی ہے تیری محفل میں, ضیاء سر کے لیے, کہ یہ کیسا دستور زباں بندی ہے تیری محفل میں, یہاں تو ترستی ہے کچھ کہنے کو زباں میری. السلام علیکم آل. میں شکیل احمد ریسرچ اسکالر ڈپارٹمنٹ آف پبلک ایڈمنسٹریشن سے ہوں. سب سے پہلے تو میں ضیاء سر کا شکریہ ادا کرنا چاہوں گا جن نے یہ انیشیٹو لیا, اور تمام ڈپارٹمنٹس کو, سوشل سائنسز کے تھے اور اس کے علاوہ لینگویجز کے بھی بہت سے لوگ تھے یہاں پہ. ہمارے ایک ریسرچ اسکالر جو ہیں وہ انگلش سے ہیں اور دوسرے لوگ بھی ایجوکیشن اسٹڈیز سے, انہوں نے بھی یہ بات کی کہ سر ہمیں بھی بلانا چاہیے تھا. اور سر نے پہلے بتایا کہ ہمارے پاس جو تھی وہ اسپیس کی کمی تھی, اس کی وجہ سے یہ چیزیں. اور میرے دوست نے پہلے بھی یہ بتایا کہ کووڈ کے بعد ہمارا یہ پہلا انٹریکشن ہے. سر یہ ریسرچ ورکشاپ جو ہے صرف ریسرچ اسکالرس کے لیے نہیں بلکہ پی جی کے طلباء بھی یہاں پہ ہیں, اور وہ چیزیں جو دوسری یونیورسٹیز میں پوسٹ گریجویٹ لیول پہ سکھائی جاتی ہیں ہم لوگ یہاں ریسرچ میں آ کے سیکھتے ہیں. یہاں پہ جو اکیڈمک ایکٹیویٹیز ہیں ہمارے پاس سر یہاں یونیورسٹی کے اندر بہت سے ایسٹس ہیں, بہت سے ایسے لوگ ہیں یہاں پہ. ایچ او ڈی پولیٹیکل سائنس سر بھی ہمارے سامنے یہاں بیٹھے ہوئے ہیں جو گورننس کے اوپر بہت اچھا کام کرتے ہیں, گڈ گورننس. اور ہم یہ چاہتے ہیں کہ ہماری یونیورسٹی کے اندر جو اکیڈمک ہے اس کے اندر تبدیلی لائی جائے, اس کو اور بہتری کی طرف لے جایا جائے. ہم لوگ یہاں ریسرچ میں آ کے ابھی 4th ایئر ہے, انشاءاللہ 1-2 مہینے کے بعد سبمیشن کریں گے, تو بہت سی ایسی چیزیں جن میں ہم لوگ پیچھے ہیں. وہ جیسے پبلیکیشنس, یونیورسٹی کے اپنے رول ریگولیشنس ہوتے ہیں, تو ہم یہاں پہ آ کے سوچتے ہیں ایک پیپر پبلش کرنا ہے اپنے تھیسس کے سبمیشن کی ریکوائرمنٹ ہے, اور یہاں پہ ہمیں مطلب بتایا نہیں جاتا. جو پی جی کے دوسرے ہمارے فرینڈس ہیں دوسری یونیورسٹی میں جو ریسرچ اسکالرس ہیں یا ہمارے ساتھ پی جی میں تھے, تو یہ دوسری یونیورسٹی جو ہیں یہ چیزیں وہاں پہ پوسٹ گریجویٹ میں سکھائی جاتی ہیں. ہاؤ ٹو رائٹ ریسرچ پیپر, ہم لوگوں کو کئی بار جو اچھے جرنلس ہیں ہم لوگ نہیں سارٹ آؤٹ کر سکتے ہیں. پیپر کس طرح سے لکھنا ہے, پلیجرزم اور بہت سے جو ایسے ایشو رہتے ہیں. ہم چاہتے ہیں کہ اس قسم کے ورکشاپ جو ہیں ہوں, اور یہ بھی میں چاہوں گا کہ ضیاء سر اگر ایک اور انیشیٹو لیں تو اچھا ہوگا ہم سب کے لیے. ہم چاہیں گے کہ ضیاء سر کروائیں. اور اس کے علاوہ ورکشاپ کے اندر جو سر کا ایک ٹرننگ پوائنٹ تھا, یہ فزیکل انٹریکشن یہاں سامنے ہمیں لگ رہی ہے, کیونکہ جب وہاں پہ سوشل سائنس کے اندر ہمارا ایک سیمینار ہال ہے, وہاں پہ آلریڈی ہمارے پاس اسکرینس ہے, سب کچھ ہے, ورکنگ نہیں ہے. جو پہلے دن ٹیکنیکل ایشو کی وجہ سے کافی پرابلم آئی. ہم چاہتے ہیں کہ سوشل سائنسز کے اندر جو ہمارا سیمینار ہال ہے وہ بھی تھوڑا سا بہتری کی طرف لایا جائے اور اس طرح کی چیزیں وہاں پہ ہوں. اور میں آئی ایم سی جو یہ ڈپارٹمنٹ ہے ان کا شکریہ بھی ادا کرنا چاہوں گا, جو ٹیکنیکل سٹاف ہے یہاں پہ ان کا بھی, اور जिन्हें हमें यहाँ पे सर के जो रिक्वेस्ट की और माना और हम लोग यहाँ पे आए। थैंक यू।
अस्सलाम वालेकुम। मेरा नाम अब्दुल मोहिद है और मैं डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ पॉलिटिकल साइंस से हूँ। बहुत अच्छा प्रोग्राम रहा एक्चुअली, एंड जैसे बहुत सारे मेरे भाइयों ने कहा कि आफ्टर लॉकडाउन इट वाज द फर्स्ट आई थिंक ऑफलाइन मोड रिसर्च वर्कशॉप. इट वाज नॉट completely offline but it was in a blended mode. So I like to say that in all the research, out of all the research workshop I have attended, this is one of the best one. I'm not stating it, but because first of all it was an offline mode, and second that all the workshop that I have attended so far, it was very generic in nature. वेरी जेनरिक इन नेचर इन द सेंस कि इससे पहले जो रिसर्च जहाँ भी मैंने अटेंड किया ऑनलाइन, वहाँ पे ज़्यादातर जो फोकस रहता था वो साइंस स्टूडेंट, जो साइंस के स्टूडेंट हैं उन पर फोकस रहता था. तो आई वुड लाइक टू थैंक द ऑर्गेनाइजर्स दैट दे रिस्ट्रिक्टेड दिस रिसर्च methodology workshop for social science students. I don't have any grudge against the science student, but because those departments or science department, they are more resourceful, and I think they are taught in their PGs, etc. Unlike social sciences students, it's everywhere. I think under my understanding or my observation is that somewhere or at some point of time, the social sciences students, they are being neglected, or we, after coming to the university or to the college, we start learning about the research methodology. So it was very important that the focus was on the social science students. All the resource persons were very experienced, talented, and also very updated on the new challenges coming in terms of research methodology, etc., etc. And really, it was very educative, very informative. The other day, I asked a question about inductive and deductive approach in social sciences. So obviously there are so many research in social science, almost in all disciplines of social science, using this inductive approach. But my question was from the perspective of a new researcher, a fresh students who come to the department, and he does not know anything about all these things. All the time he's being asked to read more and more theories, to read more and more pre-established conceptions, research framework, etc., etc. So I think it's a high time that we need to consciously chart out the plan of in social science in our department, that which kind of orientation we have, which kind of, I mean, it's very important. I mean, almost all the resource person, they are talk about challenges or the I mean, an upside down things that is happening in social science discipline. The technology that brought the changes have brought in terms of conducting research, data collection, etc., etc. So the traditional methods or the tools that we have been using so far are not very fruitful now. So I think it's very high time that we should start. We have a focus on this, that which kind of research we want to plan, whether it should be inductive or deductive. Why we still be focusing on the deductive approach only. So I think it's high time that we should be focused on this inductive approach. So it was really wonderful, this workshop. I learned a lot of misconception and was debunked, and I thankful for that. Thank you, sir.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम। शनशीन पर तशरीफ़ फरमा सब मौज़िज़ीन,
اور میرے ساتھی جو پچھلے 5 دن سے میں آپ کے ساتھ تھا. اکثر لوگ مجھ سے واقف نہیں ہوں گے، میں ایک ریسرچ اسکالر بھی ہوں اور یہاں کا ایک امپلائی بھی ہوں. ایک سب سے اہم بات یہ ہے کہ اللہ نے آپ کو موقع دیا ہے کہ فوری طور پر آپ ریسرچ کر رہے ہیں یا کرنا چاہتے ہیں. ایم اے کے بھی بچے ہیں یہاں اور پی ایچ ڈی کے بھی اسکالرس ہیں ماشاء اللہ. مجھے دیکھیے، میرا پی جی ہوا تھا 98 میں اور پھر میں نے پی ایچ ڈی کا رجسٹریشن کروایا 2021 میں. اتنا بڑا گیپ. غم روزگار کے سمندر میں جانے کے بعد پھر علم کے ساحل پر لوٹنا کتنا مشکل ہے، وائس چانسلر سب جانتے ہیں. تو اللہ نے موقع دیا اور آپ لوگ شکر گزار رہے ہیں، اللہ کا بھی اپنے اساتذہ کا بھی، کہ آپ کو فوری طور پر موقع مل گیا اور اتنا اچھا اور اتنا معلوماتی ایک ورک شاپ آپ کو آف لائن ریسورس پرسن اگرچہ کہ آن لائن تھے، لیکن یہ جو کلاس روم کا ایٹماسفیئر ہے یہ آپ کو یہ بہت فائدہ مند رہا اور بہت اچھے موضوعات رہے. میں نے جب ایم سی جے جوائن کیا، میں سوشل سائنسز کا نہیں البتہ ماس کمیونیکیشن کا ہوں دراصل. تو ایم سی جے جب جوائن کیا تھا اس زمانے میں ایم سی جے اور بی سی جے ہوا کرتا تھا بائیفرکیٹ کر کے یو جی کے بعد. تو بی سی جے میں ہم کو اسٹڈی پیپر تھا اور ایم سی جے میں پروجیکٹ رپورٹ، جیسا آپ ضیاء صاحب بتا رہے تھے آپ کے پاس پی جی میں ہے اسی طرح کا ریسرچ ورک. تو یہ تھیوری اب جو ہم نے سنی ہے، تھیوری اور پریکٹیکل اپروچ ریسرچ کو لے کر، سوشل سائنسز کی ریسرچ کو لے کر، اس کی عملی شکل میں بہت پہلے دیکھ چکا تھا. میں بہت اچھی طرح واقف تھا کوانٹیٹیو ریسرچ سے، بلکہ میرے دونوں بھی جو پروجیکٹ تھے دونوں بھی کنٹینٹ انالیسس پر مبنی تھے. لیکن ان کا جو تھیوریٹیکل پرسپیکٹیو ہے وہ اس ورک شاپ میں آنے کے بعد پتہ چلا 25 سال کے بعد. تو یہ ورک شاپ اس اعتبار سے بڑا ہی کارآمد رہا. اور پھر ایک بار آپ سب کو مبارکباد دیتا ہوں. اور میزبان جو ہیں محمد صاحب ہیں، ضیاء صاحب کی بڑی محنت ہے، سعید صاحب ہیں اور تمام فیکلٹی کے ممبرس ہیں، اور خاص کر لڑکوں نے جو مینیج کیا ہے، انہوں نے تو بس پٹری پر ٹرین لگا کر چھوڑ دی، اس کے بعد لڑکے چلاتے رہے، بچے چلاتے رہے، اسٹوڈنٹ چلاتے رہے اور بڑے سلیقے سے چلایا ماشاء اللہ. اور بہت اچھے انٹریکٹیو سیشن بھی بہت اچھے رہے. ایکسپرٹ سے جس طرح کے سوالات کیے میں بڑا حیران بھی رہا، میں بڑا مروب بھی ہوا. ماشاء اللہ بچوں کی لیاقت بہت اچھی ہے، قابلیت. اللہ آپ کو ترقی دے. بہت شکریہ.
بہت بہت شکریہ آپ کے تاثرات کے لیے. سر آپ کا خصوصی شکریہ. ایک بار پھر ہم بڑی خوشی اور سعادت کا اظہار کرتے ہیں کہ ہمارے درمیان آنریبل وائس چانسلر صاحب موجود ہیں، یونیورسٹی کے روح رواں ہیں. عزت مآب وائس چانسلر سے گزارش ہے اس شعر کے ساتھ کہ وہ ہماری رہنمائی کرے اور ہمیں گائیڈ کریں. ہوا ہے گو تند و تیز لیکن چراغ اپنا جلا رہا ہے، وہ مرد درویش جس کو حق نے دیے ہیں انداز خسروانہ. جناب وائس چانسلر.
My dear colleagues, guests, and my students. Often I repeat this sentence that, and you know very well, that COVID-19 pandemic has been a disguise for all of us. Coming out of it required a lot of courage. And immediately after joining this university as Vice Chancellor, I realized that now that time has come, we should invite our students. And we were the first to reopen our campus for our students. And that result I can see. Now after more than 6-7 months, what I see here, a very, very healthy environment of debate, discussion, participation, workshop, and whatnot. Even agitation. Let us include this is also part of our life. Now, to say that There are many very good scholars who spoke about the facilities. Facilities, of course, we must have. But always there is gradual progress. It's not that you just think there's nothing like kun fayakun. You have to wait. All of us, whether Department of Sociology, Political Science, Economics, entire social sciences, we are trying very hard to revamp and to redesign all these departments. You know the requirements. Number one, faculty positions. Asking contractual staff to support doesn't sound well. A full-fledged faculty is required. And it happened, I also realized that we have to fill the gap. There are many gaps. We have to fill the gap. How to do it? Opening avenues for our students. The first and foremost thing. And how can you open avenues for your students? There must be some support from inside and outside both. In the sense that your interaction within the campus, within the university, and outside the university is imminent. You cannot compromise. You have to consider your movement an important component of your research. There are libraries, periodicals, institutions you must visit. Research methodology is a one subject, one aspect of research, in fact, where you have to learn how to do research, how to create a better way of placing the argument and the convincing argument. Let me just take a few minutes about, methodology. Of course, we have, all of us have lived through, this is not my, special subject, research methodology, but what I have learned over a period of time, because 38 years I have taught. That's a long career, in fact. 84, I started my teaching career. And, still, basically, I am a teacher. Our PRO, Mr. Vase, considers me administrator. Well, it may be a blessing in disguise. But yes, basically, I am a teacher. I understand the difficulties of our students. Number one, what our students demand and how to consider their demands in a very, very affirmative manner. What to do about them. Now, see, in research methodology, my advice to you, few advices, one advice is that often what we do, there are interconnected bogies. If I say social science, sociology, political science, economics, they all come under one single umbrella, which is social sciences. Okay? But you see, all of them are separate entities. But there are lot of chances of mixing up things together. Do you agree with me? All of you are PhD students or doing masters also? Huh? Mixed. Okay. You're right. You see, when you complain that, you see, at master's level, we should be taught some component of research methodology. That's I fully agree with you. And under national education policy, there is a room for it. And very soon, we are introducing 4-year undergraduate program and 1-year master's program. And then from 4th year, you will have, one small component of research methodology also. I mean, that is the, overall part of, our endeavor, and we are emphasizing more and more, having many, discussions, debates, and finally we have arrived at a juncture where we are bound to introduce. This you will see in coming days. So what I say that as a student, always confine yourself to case study. Don't deviate yourself, because you have to pick up a very, very, very solid and to the point area of study, where you have to strive very hard all the time. You see, wherever you go, you come and strive there. Come and strive. Then you will be expert of that particular subjects, that particular topic. You know what happened, you see, in one of the selection committees, say a student was, explaining about his thesis and showing the length and then the size of the thesis, look at this much work, you see. Then somehow he was literally annoying. I mean, nobody was really very happy to listen to all these, illogical arguments that, look, I mean, size never matter. It's not at all. One single paper, don't count number of pages. One single paper of a particular case study is enough to fetch you Nobel Prize. That's the crux of the matter, I'm telling you. So what happens that he was showing and expressing and deliberating on blah blahs, Then I asked one question. How do you say that this is your thesis? They say, I have written this and this is with me, and then I said, how do you say that this is my thesis? How do you claim? And someone else can come and say that, look, I mean, only your name is written there, therefore you are author. You are researcher. Is this way? But what I am asking, you see, very straight question I am asking. How about, because, number one, someone said here, that the hypothesis, that is important in fact. Because, Newton's, you see, what was his hypothesis? That there is some gravity, you see, somewhere, you see. There is a gravitational force there. Apple, see, throwing up and coming down, you see. And then, must be something. No research has gone. Only thing is that there is something, and where it is, let us find. And then there you see, ultimately, after so many hardships, the ultimately fourth law comes. Similarly, you see, theory was available, you see, of gravity, but how to deal with other components. There are many other particles in and around. What to do? Then years later, Einstein comes and introduces something relativity, some relativity. Small particles, how they damage the entire globe. You see, that's final result you see of these researchers. Although the humanities are involved and there are other things you see, but what I am saying that ultimately you see the goal was achieved on the basis of a particular hypothesis. So hypothesis is important, and you have to explain what made you to pick up this subject, this topic. You have to explain any experience, any encounter with something. You must have, and therefore you see, you must have read somebody thoroughly. You see, one of my fellow student at the time when I was a student, in fact, who was reading Trotsky all the time. You see, he was reading all the books of. You see, one book is always there in his pocket, that Trotsky, and students started calling him Trotskyite. You know what? He was so engrossed, and he had done so much research on this philosopher that ultimately he was associate professor in NEHU. He committed suicide. वो में हुलूल कर गया ट्रॉट्स्की, अंदर चला गया. मैं ये नहीं कह रहा हूं किसी सैडिस्ट को अपने माइंड में, अपने दिमाग में, अपनी बॉडी में डाल लो और जाके फिर एक दिन हाउस में डूब जाओ. नहीं. What I'm saying is this hypothesis should be so strong on the basis of your own study that now you can combine things together and explore more and more materials, more and more ideas you can incorporate. But basic is your hypothesis. You have to build up your hypothesis. Then what is happening? Hypothesis is just one at very large scale, something at very large scale. You have to, then there is something called synthesis. How to do the synthesis? Combine things small, big, together, and then bringing it to the platform and saying that, look, these are the essentials, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 related to each other. And then you start discovering. This is synthesis. Then there is a thesis. It's not that, you see, you produce something and say, this is my thesis. No, this is not your thesis. You have to deliberate upon the way you have made your efforts. You must explain how, what made you to do this research. And then entire thing, you see. So 3 components. You know what happens, you see, I'm basically a student of language, literature, and culture. But often I have seen straight journalism, in fact. You see, while writing books or, articles, our students normally, you see, and then their opinion also. They express their opinion. This is not research. There is something called tahqiq. Tahqiq is research. Then tanqeed is criticism. And then tadween, editing. अब तीनों को मिला देंगे तो बनेगा क्या? अपनी जबान में कहें तो अच्छा वर्ड नहीं है, लेकिन है मुहावरे में चूं-चूं का मुरब्बा, और कुछ नहीं बनने वाला है. So be very focused, अपने एरिया में फोकस. कोई जरूरी नहीं है सारी चीजें हम डिस्कवर कर ले, पूरी सोशल साइंस का अपने ऊपर बर्डन लेके चले. आप इंटरव्यू में जा रहे हैं तो आप अपने एरिया में रह के वहीं लाइए. क्वेश्चन भी हो रहा है तो वहीं लाके रोकिए. आप आर्टिकुलेशन इतना होना चाहिए, दिस इज माय फील्ड. वहां से कोई क्वेश्चन कर ले, नो, बट व्हाट आई थिंक एंड व्हाट आई हैव डन एंड व्हाट आई विश टू डू इज दिस बिकॉज दिस इज माय टॉपिक एंड आई हैव रेड दिस. खत्म बात. कोई आपसे नहीं कहने जा रहा है कि आप उस एरिया में जाइए. No, that's not my field. But yes, there is some, if there is a connection, well, you can say that there is some connection is there, but I am confined to this. This is, see, I mean, of course, a lot of articulation is required. It's not that straight away you say, okay, don't ask this question to me. No, you have to articulate. These are important things, and I'm glad that, such things are happening here in our university. I often say that our students are capable enough to break all the barriers. Our students are able to participate in any national, international forum. And I have seen today some of them highlighting, exactly pinpointing what is the requirement, in fact. And I request these professors also to think about it, how to go about it. Yeah, this feedback is important. Your feedback will definitely pave way for better arrangement, better facilities. Is it? It will not go waste. But my humble request to you that let us limit ourselves within the boundaries of law. We should be an abided citizen of India. There are certain rules and regulations. In terms of plagiarism also, plagiarism is not just copying the text, formation, sentences, okay? Plagiarism is copying the idea. Don't copy idea, create idea. You are creators. You create and then see the result. Don't look at and never consider its worth. One more thing, let me tell you. Somebody pointed out, it's a very good forum, in fact, for debate and discussion. How I wish that all of you could have come here, and spoken something about it. What I see that always publish your work. Never feel yourself handicapped. Why not? Publication is also important. Public, make it public. Publication, make it public. अपना ही लिख के अपने घर में रखें. वो एक साहब थे जो गजल लिखते थे, बड़ी उम्दा गजल लिखते थे. एक मटका था उनका. मटका समझते हो? पानी का वेसल जो है, मटका, मिट्टी का घड़ा कहते ना. गजल लिखते थे, बेगम को सुनाते थे और घड़े में डाल देते थे. उसके बाद उस पर कपड़ा लगाते थे, उसको एक नाड़े से बांध देते थे. कुछ मस्खरे भी थे जो ये सब देखते थे और मुशायरे में जाने वाले भी थे. तो वो घड़ा को जरा सा खोलते थे, उसमें से 1-2 पेपर निकल जाते थे और जाके मुशायरों में पार्टिसिपेट कर लेते थे. मगर इनकी आदत थी, जब घड़ा भर जाता था तो ये सब निकालते थे बाहर और माचिस की तीली से उसमें आग लगा देते थे, फिर शुरू करते थे. अच्छी बात करते थे, पर उनका मजा था, वो फन था उनका, इसी में था, उसी में वो इन्वॉल्व रहते थे. अपनी बेगम के अलावा किसी को सुनाते नहीं थे. और कोई अगर सुना दे तो कहते तुमने कैसे सुना, ये तो मेरा है, मेरी बेबी है भाई, तुम क्यों. बट दिस इज नॉट इन द एरिना ऑफ रिसर्च. यू हैव टू मेक इट पब्लिक. आप जो भी काम कर रहे हैं, इसीलिए बिफोर सबमिशन you must write a paper, you must publish a paper. Okay? मैं आपसे कहता हूं, I will help you out. If you find any difficulty in terms of publishing your paper, I will recommend, I will send it, and I will see to it that you are, अगर साहिब किताब नहीं तो साहिबे आर्टिकल जरूर हो जाएं आप। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
थैंक यू वेरी मच सर, हमारी हौसला अफजाई और रहनुमाई के लिए। मैं प्रोफेसर अफरोज़ आलम साहब, हेड डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ पॉलिटिकल साइंस का मशकूर हूँ कि आपने विज़िट किया। इसके बाद वोट ऑफ थैंक्स के लिए मैं असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ सोशोलॉजी डॉक्टर सईद मेव से गुजारिश करता हूँ कि वोट ऑफ थैंक्स पेश करें।
Thank you, Osama. The word thank actually is revolving in this session since the beginning. So my work is a bit, I'm wondering that it should not look very much repetitive. One clarification, actually, the Department of Sociology offers a research course since graduation, actually, in graduation also, and post-graduation, and then, of course, onwards. Okay, dignitaries on the dais, participants, and esteemed audience, a very good morning and warm welcome to you all. It gives me immense pleasure to deliver a word of thanks to the people involved, participated, and provided help in various ways to conduct this one-week workshop. Undoubtedly, as you just got to know from the workshop report presented a little earlier by the coordinator, Dr. Kim Siauddin, a huge amount of applications, participation, and best of the resource persons were gathered from across the country to speak on various nuances of research methodology. This surely indicates an incredible amounts of efforts, energy, and resources that have gone into organizing this wonderful research workshop. Let me start first with the man who took all the pain to initiate, organize, and collate the much required resources, both material and non-material, to conduct this workshop so successfully. Just to inform you, friends, this is the first research methodology workshop organized in the Department of Sociology. I immensely, or rather greet, Dr. Kim Ziauddin, the coordinator of this workshop, to do this path-breaking and wonderful maiden job. I do thank his teammates, Osama Akram, Asim Suhail, Adnan Jamil, Afreen Begum, Nilofer. These are the students of postgraduate and doctoral research program of the department, for their sincere efforts in coordinating the sessions, preparing a Google form, taking care of registration, etc. And yes, on a very lighter note, a very big thank to them for organizing and developing amazing, attractive posters with beautiful looking pictures of us. I really cannot thank enough the resource persons who could spare their valuable time to connect with the participants and sharing their much valuable ideas, understanding, and incredibly vast experience on research methodology. I'm sure, and as the feedback session also indicates significantly, the participants have been immensely benefited by learning and shaping or reshaping their understanding on doing research. I do thank all the participants for their keen interest and engaging participation throughout the workshop. No doubt, without your deeper interest, inquisitive and interactive approach, the workshop would not have attained this state of success with flying colors. I thank our head of the department, Professor P.H. Mohammed, who provided all the possible help. And rather, he does always motivate us to organize any such event of intellectual engagement and honing the skills of critical aptitude and research skills of the students and the scholars. Friends, I do humbly express my most sincere gratitude to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Syed Anul Hassan, to grace this occasion and highlighting the importance of gaining research skills such as articulating interdisciplinarity and keen focus, and the idea of totally immersing into exploring the knowledge and publishing it. I'm immensely grateful to Director of IMC, Mr. Rizwan Ahmad, and his entire team for helping us to record, telecast, and organizing this workshop with utmost ease and in a very hassle-free manner. And yes, helping us to spread our ideas far and wide by airing the programs live via IMC YouTube channel and making it available for viewing to people across time and space infinitely. I also thank teaching and non-teaching staff of the Sociology Department and PRO team of the university to provide their best possible help. Furthermore, I do express my gratitude to all the people who provided their help directly or indirectly, whom I could not name here due to the paucity of time and certain limitations on my part. Well, responsibility for any omission, if any, is solely mine. Thank you once again, one and all, for your love and support. I stop here. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
थैंक यू सो मच सर. सेशन आगे जारी रहेगा. मैं फराह जाफरी को आवाज़ देता हूं कि आगे का सेशन बढ़ाएं. थैंक यू सर. थैंक यू. थैंक यू.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. I, Farah Jafri, research student, welcome you all to the last day of 1 week workshop of research methodology organized by the Department of Sociology. As Yasser has already discussed about the workshop, so without taking much of your time, I like to move on to today's session, for which I would like to invite Professor Nagaraju to guide us in understanding sampling and doing research in social science. Before inviting him here, let me briefly put light upon his accomplishments. Professor Nagaraju holds a PhD from the University of Hyderabad 2004. He joined the department as assistant professor in the year 2005. His areas of teaching and research interest covered sociology of India, education, youth, marginalized groups, and information technology and society. He has carried out research on teacher agency, schooling of girls, educational achievement of children, and contested youth identities. A case of India and South Africa. He is alumni of University of Hyderabad, did PhD in 2003, MA Sociology in the year 1998. He has over a dozen of research papers published in peer-reviewed journal and several chapters, research projects, and also a few books. Professor Nagaraju currently teaches in the Department of Sociology. He is also serving Dean Students Welfare. He is a member of Managing Committee of Indian Sociological Society and has been associated with it for over 20 years. May I kindly request Sir to deliver his lecture and guide us in understanding and doing research in social science.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your kind introduction. I hope I am audible. Am I audible? Dear friends, am I audible? Dr. Jia, am I audible? Dr. Saeed, Professor Mohammed sir, am I audible? Hello? Hello sir, am I audible or not? Hello? Am I audible? Hello friends, so if I am audible, please raise your hands. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yes, I got it. Okay, friends, good afternoon to all of you. It really gives me immense pleasure to listen to the Honorable Vice Chancellor words about research, and also it always a honor to me to share my thoughts with the Department of Sociology, MANUU. Just 1 second, I think Dr. Jia is calling. Jia, am I audible now? Hello, am I audible? Just 1 second, sorry. Sorry, friends, 1 second. some technical glitch, I think. Friends, I hope I am audible, no? Dr. J, am I audible or not? Yes, okay, thanks. Okay, thank you. So let me go ahead. So the point is that it's always pleasure talking to our friends from Department of Sociology, Maulana National Urdu University, and the topic given by my friend Professor Jia is understanding sampling. That is the topic they have given us. So let me just highlight what do you mean by what is the significance of sampling in the social science research. So in order to highlight this point, I am going to talk about what is the difference between universe and sampling, and how to understand sample both in a qualitative and a quantitative research, and what is the rationale for selecting a sampling, and what are the types of samples which are generally used in research, and what are the advantages and limitations of sampling. These are some of the points I'm going to cover as a part of my lecture. So, dear friends, we are talking about the sample. As all of us know that we need to make a difference between universe and sample. Well, like when the government of India talks about the 10 years census reports, every 10 years the government conducts the census. As all of us very aware that the census means enumeration of the entire population, where the data is collected from all the units of the population. So in a simple sense, the census is primarily a collection of the population of the entire country. So that's where, friends, it is known as the universe. But as a students of social sciences, as a students of science, or whenever you talk about the political surveys, most of the time, the political scientists as well as the social science scholars, they always try to use sample instead of universe. I think that's where we need to understand what is sample, how to define sample, right? Why we are not talking about the entire, let's say, why we are not interested to cover the entire state with reference to the political behavior? Why we are not covering the entire village, or why we are not covering the entire community? As all of us are very much aware of the Sachar Commission report, the Sachar Commission report also followed a sampling method by choosing the Muslim communities from different parts of the country. They did not conduct, they did not collect data from the entire, let's say, Muslim community from Kashmir to Kerala. So this is where, friends, as all of us should remember that there is a difference between universe and sample. So now the second point, which all of us may think, is what is sample? How to define sample? The sampling is the process of selecting a subset of people or a social phenomena to be studied from the larger universe to which they belong. So that means, in a simple sense, sample is primarily a subset of people selected from a larger universe. A larger universe. So in a simple, that means in order to know the pulse of the people with reference to the political behavior, in order to know the socio-economic and educational conditions of a community, either religion, caste, or based on gender or rural urban background. So the sample is primarily used as a representative. So that's where I would like to quote one of the scholars by name Blur and Wood, who argued that a sample is a representation of the population from which it is selected if the characteristics of the sample approximate to the characteristics of the population. So in a simple sense, the sample is primarily a replica of the population. A replica of the population. That's what, friends, we should remember. So, but now one of the important questions which all of us have to discuss. The question is, what are the different types of research within the social sciences, and why people follow different types of samples in conducting their studies. I think that's where, friends, as all of us are very much aware that there is most of the anthropologists and sociologists, they always use the qualitative techniques, whereas economists and political scientists, geographers, they always prefer to use the quantitative techniques. So now within the quantitative and qualitative techniques, what type of sample one has to follow? That is another important point which need to be discussed as a part of the research. So that's where we're talking about sample. There are two types of samples. The sample is primarily classified into two types. The first one is the probability sample, and the second one is non-probability sample. So as the name itself clearly indicates, probability and non-probability. So let us see, what do you mean by probability and what do you mean by non-probability? So the probability, the chances of being included in the sample is commonly known as probability sampling. That means there is a highest chances of including, there is a highest chances of covering in that sample is known as the probability sample. Whereas in non-probability sampling, there is no way to ensure that each item of the population has a chances of being included in the sample. So let us take the case of all of you who are sitting in the auditorium. We are talking about the probability sampling. If I go by row wise, I may select any one. If I assume that I wish to select one person from each row, there is a probability that at least one person from each row who is sitting in the MANUU auditorium are going to be selected. There is a probability. Whereas in the non-probability sampling, there is no let's say guarantee that there is no guarantee that the people who are sitting in the auditorium are going to be selected. Anyone is going to be selected on a random basis. So therefore, friends, so why people in what type of research the probability sample are primarily used? In what type of research the non-probability samplings are used? If I give you an example, the probability samples are primarily used with reference to the existing database, where most of the economists who deals with, let's say, the market research, who deals with the stock exchange, who deals with the human population with reference to their consumption pattern and modes of expenditure and all, most of them were known for using the probability sampling. Whereas the scholars from, let's say, anthropology, sociology, in addition to the probability sampling, they were also known for using non-probability sampling by using the different techniques. So I'm going to tell you what is the rationale behind use of the probability sampling and non-probability sampling. So, but before we are going to talk about these two types, one should also try to understand what is the ideal sampling procedure. That is, what type of what are the, let's say, defining features of the sample. So according to some scholars, they argue that a sample should fulfill two features. One, it should represent the entire population, and second, it should be unbiased. So we have already discussed about the sample is nothing but representation of a community, representation of the respective population, which we are going to study. But the most important point, as a scholars of research, the most important point is that it should be unbiased. So that's where there is a difference between a generalistic approach or a popular approach and a scientific approach. So as a scholars who are part of the university system, we are supposed to follow certain rules and regulations with reference to the selection of the sample. So therefore, friends, the two defining features are sample. First is that the representation of the population. The second is, the most important one is the unbiasedness. So now that's where, friends, we're talking about this very idea of these two types. The researchers based on the topic, they tend to select either probability sampling and non-probability sampling. So let us see what are the important let's say important, let's say, formula. What are the important, let's say, mechanisms, or what is the important process people, scholars, they follow, especially in a quantitative and a qualitative research. So when you're talking about qualitative research, as I mentioned, we generally deal with the macro data, which is very much available, that is such as census data, such as macro surveys data. In addition to the surveys which are conducted by the individual researchers, especially in sociology, anthropology, and political sciences. So let us see what type of let's say samplings are primarily followed in qualitative and quantitative tradition. That is in a macro tradition and a micro tradition. So friends, when you're talking about these two important, let's say modes of research, the scholars argue that sampling techniques vary with the nature of research. In quantitative research, generally the researchers want to focus on the qualitative aspects of social life through the collection and analysis of some of the numerate statistical data such as population, average income, dropout rate, let's say educational achievement, so on and so forth. So if you try to, I'm sure those who are PhD scholars, some of you might have seen the Sachar Commission report, which categorically presents the diverse forms of tables, the tables which are collected from different, based on different parts of the Indian cities and villages. So we are talking about the tables. The tables gives us a sense of the status of a particular community with reference to the income, with reference to the educational achievements, with reference to women empowerment, with reference to the political participation, with reference to their housing pattern, and so on and so forth. So therefore, the quantitative techniques, that is the quantitative data, always demands a sample. In the quantitative techniques, the sample is very much useful in order to provide a broader analysis about the diverse forms of indicators such as income, as well as education, healthcare, and so on and so forth. So that's where, friends, here in order to follow a kind of objective way of analysis. Now the scholars argue that, right, the researchers have to draw, the researchers have to follow a representative sample from a large population and try to understand the population parameter through the sample statistics. So that means, friends, when you want to know, that is the population trends, the income trends, as well as educational achievements of the population of the people, what we need to understand is that a true sample should represent the diversity across the nation or across the states. So that's where, friends, here the scholars, they try to argue that they primarily talks about the importance of sample. That means the sample plays a very, very important role in quantitative techniques, which primarily deals with the macro data. So that's where, friends, if you refer to, let's say, higher educational research surveys, which primarily provides the trends of the educational participation of the people from diverse socio-religious background. So let us see how to understand the sampling in the case of the qualitative research, right? That is with reference to the micro data analysis, with reference to the micro communities, or with reference to the micro data. The qualitative research, on the other hand, focuses on the peculiar features of social life or on the meanings created and transformed in course of interhuman relations, or sometimes on the intersubjective feelings and emotions. So friends, the quantitative techniques, that means the economists are known for grappling with the large-scale data with reference to the GDP, with reference to the gross expenditure, with reference to the gross enrollment, everything macro. But the point is that the macro data doesn't make much significance if we fail to capture what are the socio-cultural and religious beliefs of the people. That's where, friends, we'll talk about, let's say, educational achievements. Most of us, we generally know that there is a gender gap in educational achievements with reference to higher education, right? So there is also a kind of unequal employment opportunities based on religion, based on caste, based on gender. But the data shows the macro data. But why one particular religious community is lagging behind in government employment opportunity? Why why some caste or tribes are lagging behind in employment opportunities? So, friends, I think that's where, in order to capture the inner world, or especially the emotional world, or the socio spiritual world of the people, most of the economists and anthropologists, most of the socialists and anthropologists are known for using the micro data from a micro data. So that's where, friends, we are talking about micro data. The scholars, they also try to follow different types of sample techniques. That means the point we need to understand here is that the qualitative researchers, their concern is to find the reasons, right? The reasons which primarily gives some kind of meanings to their life. That means, we, as a typical anthropologist, we need to understand why people act in particular way. So, as all of us know that, with reference to our food habits, with reference to our dressing pattern, with reference to the way you speak, right? There are a number of things which can't be quantified. So, therefore, friends, here we need to use both the qualitative techniques and quantitative techniques, where the role of sample is going to play very, very important role. So, now the point is that, friends, we are talking about the very idea of the sample. What are the what type of samples one has to use? As I told you, we have broadly two types of samples. Broadly, the first one is probability sampling. The second one is non-probability sampling. So we are talking about the probability sampling. As I mentioned, we are going to derive the data based on the existing database. So, such as, let us take the example of the Urdu University students with reference to their opinion on the question of the arts and sciences. So that means, if I want to know what are the perceptions of the Urdu University students about the arts and science courses, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select some, let's say, 10% of the science students and 10% of the social science and humanities students, and I'm going to conduct a kind of interviews. First of all, I'm going to give them a questionnaire, and followed by a kind of interview method. So the point is that here I am very much aware of my respondents to whom I am going to speak. Right? My respondents are very much, let's say, available to me, and so that means the probability sample, primarily gives us a scope to engage with the people who are slightly familiar to the researcher. So they are familiar with the researcher. That means the researcher is very much aware of to whom he or she is going to speak. But when I'm talking about the non-probability sampling, because our PhD topics are very much diverse in nature. Some topics which can be discussed in public in front of all your friends, but some topics which can't be discussed in front of everyone. Some topics are very much private in life. Some topics are very much emotional in nature. Some topics which deals with the notions of discrimination. Some topics which primarily deals with the notions of aspirations, so on and so forth. So therefore, in order to capture the inner world, of the people, the scholars, based on the research topic. So let us say, my PhD topic is related to the interfaith marriages, right? So my topic is related to understanding religion in the 21st century. So what I'm going to do, right? So that's where, friends, we are we were forced to follow the non-probability sampling method. So let us see what is this non-probability sampling method, right? Why one has to follow this non-probability sampling method. So here, that's where, friends, here the non-probability sampling methods primarily gives us a knowledge about the characteristics of the universe or population, which would be the focus of the research. So, in a sense, this very idea of non-probability sampling is aimed towards, let's say, working with a particular targeted research subjects. So, friends, within this very idea of non-probability sampling, there are different types of, let's say, sampling models. So, how to select the people? Let us say now I want to conduct an interview with some of the villages, right, nearer to, let's say, our university. So how I'm going to do as a stranger. My topic is related to the gender discrimination with reference to education. Or my topic is, let us assume that related to, let's say, the choices of marriage of young boys and young women and young men. So what type of, let's say, strategies I'm going to follow as a part of conducting my research. So this is where, friends, we need to talk about the two types of, let's say, sampling techniques which are used as a part of non-probability sample. What are these techniques? The first one is known as purposive sampling method. Purposive sampling method in non-purposive sampling method in non-probability research. So we're talking about purposive sampling method. What do you mean by purposive sampling method? Why we need to choose or adopt the purposive sampling method? So I think that's where, friends, I wish to quote here one of the scholar by name Mozunda, who defines like this. Who defines the purposive sampling as follows. The major guiding principle in purposive sampling is to select the units with the characteristics that have matching parallels in the universe. So in a sense, we're talking about the purposive sampling, right? What is the objective of the purposive sampling? The objective and how to select what type of rules and regulations one has to follow while selecting the purposive sampling. I think that's where, friends, here, the purposive sampling should represent the essence of the universe. Here, what is the essence of the universe? The essence of the universe is nothing but a particular community. So, let us assume that in a village which consists of, let's say, 10,000 population, wherein there are more than 15 castes, there are more than three religions like as Hindus, Muslims, and Christians, right? When you have these three set of religious communities and 15 types of castes and different types of, let's say, more than 10 types of occupations and different age groups, right? If our topic is about understanding intercaste relations or understanding the dynamics of intercaste relations with reference to the marriages, what I'm going to do. So this is where, friends, here, the purpose of sampling, sample should represent the essence of the universe. That means the universe here is a village, right? But what I'm going to do as a part of the purposive sampling method, we as a researcher, we are going to select the respondents based on our convenience, based on our research demands. First, based on our research demands, and secondly, based on the convenience of the researcher and the respondent. That means you should know that only a young man and woman who have attained more than 18 years can talk about the idea of marriage or the choices of the marriage. Only those students who have completed the degree, they are aware of the idea of education system. They will be knowing about what is Masters of Sociology, what is the Masters of Mathematics. Only they will be aware of the idea of university system. So we can't talk about the idea of we can't talk about the education university system with a primary school child, right? Only those students who have completed degree, they will be having an idea about the university. So the point I am trying to say is that we are talking about the research, right? Why the purposive sampling method is important is because of the nature of the research topic itself, the nature of the research topic. So if I want to talk about, let's say, based on the objectives of the research, we should identify our respondents. We should identify the respondent. So let us assume that we have identified the respondent. So you should also see whether the respondents are willing to speak to you. This is another important point. So the reason is that most of the time, until recently, we used to take it for granted that the respondents are going to respond whenever a researcher goes to a village, whenever they try to interact with others. But that's not true, friends. Now, as per the ethics of research, as a researcher, we are supposed to explain what is the, let's say, research agenda of this respective topic, and what we are also going to tell. We are supposed to inform the respondents about the objectives of our research, about the outcomes of the research. But this was not the case some 50 years ago when MNC was and Andre Bethe, all of them, they were conducting the research. So the spirit of the point here is that the purposive sample method or the purposive sampling should represent the universe of the respective community. So that's where, so as some of our friends are very much aware, we are talking about the idea of the Sanskritization, which was coined by MNC was, and also the concept of Islamization, which was introduced by Imtiaz Ahmed. So all these scholars, based on their micro studies in the respective fields, they were in a position to use a particular concept, right? So therefore, friends, identifying a right respondent is one of the important, let's say, objectives of the purposive sampling method. So the another important point which need to be understood is that the significance of purposive sampling is that it gives the researcher an extreme autonomy to select autonomy in selecting the respondents. So here, friends, one of the major advantages of the purposive sampling is that the researcher is very much autonomous in identifying the respondents. The goal of the purposive sampling is to sample events and respondents in a strategic way so that they can help to find out the answers for the research questions. So another point is that the purposive sampling enables the researcher to understand the events in a systematic manner. So that means, friends, any student of sociology or anthropology, they want to know the everyday life of an ordinary Muslim in a Andhra village or Uttar Pradesh village. What we are supposed to do? We are supposed to go to a village and stay in that village for minimum 3 months or 6 months or for an entire year, and you try to see what is the everyday life of a particular community. Starting from the morning to evening, and also we are supposed to capture their religious aspects, we are supposed to capture their cultural aspects, we are supposed to capture their economic and political aspirations. So what I'm trying to say is that here the purposive sampling gives us a scope. It gives us a scope to understand a particular micro phenomena in a comprehensive and a systematic manner. So friends, so that's where here this very idea of the purposive sampling has become one of the most popular methods in the social science research over the last 30 years. So if you try to remember, in pre-2000, most of the scholars, either sociologists, anthropologists, political scientists, economists, they used to follow a stratified random sample, right? They used to follow strict rules and regulations with reference to the selection of the sample. But the idea was that at that time, as a scholar, we need to maintain the highest form of objectivity. That was the, let's say, guiding force of the researchers of, let's say, before 2000. But overall, of late, now the scholars have realized that we need to make a distinction between the research in social sciences and research in sciences. Because the truth, we're talking about, when you talk about the objective of the objectivity, is seeking the highest form of truth. Friends, please remember, the objective of the objectivity is to achieve the highest form of truth. But the question is that whether the truth is universal and eternal, or is very much conditioned by the time and space. That means what is correct to one particular person may not be the valid for others. So this is where we generally differ with each other with reference to our food habits, with reference to our dressing pattern, so with reference to so on and cultures and all. So the point I'm trying to highlight is that from post 2000 onwards, with the emergence of phenomenology as one of the important schools of thought in research and methodology, the scholars, especially sociologists, anthropologists, followed by the political scientists, they started giving equal importance to the subjectivity as one of the important tools of social science research. We should not attach taboo to the subjectivity. Subjectivity should not be treated as a illegitimate form of knowledge. No, we need to understand subjectivity as a means of capturing the worldview of the respondents. So that's where, friends, the ethics of research also guides the research, the way we think about research. Because the moment we try to give importance to the lived experiences of the people, or lived experiences of the respondents, the respondents are going to dominate our text. That means when you are writing a PhD thesis, when you are writing an article, here the worldview of the respondent is going to be the primary, is going to be the major source rather than the worldview of the author. Before the rise of the phenomenological school of thought, it was the worldview of the researcher is to dominate the lived experiences of the people or communities. So therefore, friends, my idea here is that the purposive sample enables the researchers to speak to the right respondents. What is it called, friends? Speak to the right respondents. So that's fair. Earlier it was known as key respondents. So the key respondents are identifying a key respondents would have an idea about a particular phenomenon. That is, with reference to, we are talking about the gender discrimination. We should not talk to the husband about gender discrimination. We should talk to only the wife. Of course, we may take some input from husband, but the primary victims of the gender discrimination are women. So therefore, friends, here the purposive sampling has its own, let's say advantages. So that's where one of my students by name Dr. Ramshina, she has completed a PhD under my supervision. Her PhD thesis is about gender and higher education, a case study of Muslim women in Kerala, right? So she has used the purposive sampling method in order to speak to the women, in order to speak to the mothers whose girls or whose daughters are going for whose daughters are enrolled in undergraduate education as well as in master's education. So the point I'm trying to highlight here is that the purposive sampling method has number of advantages, right? So now let me focus on another important type of sampling method, which is known as snowball sampling method. Snowball sampling. So what is this snowball, right? How to understand this snowball? I'm sure some of our professors, they are very much aware of this, but for the sake of students, if I go in detail, the snowball sampling is all about, primarily snowball sampling refers to the process of accumulation as each located subject suggested to the other subject. That is, snowball sampling is nothing but accumulation of data based on one subject followed by another subject. So that means, friends, in a simple sense, the snowball sampling is primarily works on the principles of reference theory based on the reference. So friends, let us see why scholars use the snowball sampling. What is the significance of snowball sampling in the social science research? Right? Because when you're talking about, let us say, when you're talking about some of the topics which are very much part of the criminology, or the topics which are primarily deals with the private world of the people. So let us say here our friend Professor Dr. Jia is there, and he is a professor by name Tulsi Patel, who has worked on gender and health technological, sex technological determinants. So in certain states like Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana, and certain parts of Tamil Nadu, where some couple deliberately uses different medical technologies to know the sex of the baby in the womb. So the point is that this, let us say, if I want to work on this kind of topic, who is going to give us the information? First of all, as per the Government of India rules, the sex discrimination is a crime. Doctors are not supposed to reveal the sex of the baby. But this has become an industry in different parts of India. But Professor Tulsi Patel has worked on this particular topic and came up with a book. So now let us see, how are you going to identify the respondents here? So first of all, friends, by following a kind of let's say very informal method, we are supposed to identify one person who is involved in this kind of illegal activities such as sex trafficking or sex determination technologies. So the moment you identify one person, right? We are going to conduct in-depth interviews with this kind of respondents, and followed by using the respondent A, we are going to identify respondent B. With the reference of respondent A, we are going to identify respondent B. So therefore, the point is that the snowball sampling method is going to be very much useful in understanding the topics, the research topics, which are primarily not part of the public discourse. I think that's where I wish to highlight even one of my colleagues by name Professor Razel Nuwami, who is also working on sex trafficking in northeastern states. So the point here is that, friends, snowball sampling is going to play very, very important role. So one can use this snowball sampling, especially even if you want to know, for example, let us say, if you want to know about, let's say, about the people who are 80 plus years, their idea of India in pre-partition, right? But how do I identify the people who have completed more than 80 years or more than 90 years, who had some idea about the pre-partition times? So in order to, let's say, know this, first of all, we need to identify a key respondent. By using that person, we are supposed to identify the other respondent. So this is where, friends, the snowball sampling primarily works as a kind of connecting chain, which is going to give us an opportunity to identify the respondents, and also because it is a snowball sampling, we are also going to get the trustworthy response. So the point is that, friends, if my friend Jia refers one of his student to come and discuss with me, because Jia has referred, I'm going to talk to the person without any hesitation, right? So that means here the trustworthiness also plays an important role, because it's we come to know about the respondents from each one, the degree of let's say confidence, the degree of the confidence of the respondents are also very much higher. So here some of the scholars, they also talk about some of the important let's say some of the important points with reference to snowball. They argue that the snowball sampling is used in those cases where the units of population are unknown or difficult to locate. Here, the representativeness of the sample cannot be assured, but the limitation is here. There is no guarantee that is going to be representative. It is almost exclusively used in a quantitative research, which prevents any form of generalization and objectivity, because this is a very kind of based on subjective understanding. There is no scope for generalization at all. Snowball sampling ends when the researcher. So the point is that snowball sampling has number of limitations. Let us see what are the advantages also. Some of the advantages I wish to highlight, then I will close though because of time. So friends, so if you look at very carefully, it gives us, it enables access to previously hidden population, right? And also it has been shown to be capable of producing a comparable data. A snowball sampling can be used to examine changes in the phenomena under study. So the point is that, friends, the snowball sampling has its limitation as number of advantages. But just to summarize, yes, we are running short of time. Just to summarize the whole debate, I wish to highlight that the snowball sampling is one of the important tools of data collection, and followed by the stratified random sampling. Just I'm going to give you a clue, all of you can check with this. So there is also another method of sampling called quota sampling. Quota sampling, in order to provide representation to different segments of the society. So therefore, friends, if you ask me to summarize the whole idea of the sample is one of the important means of understanding a particular research in a very objective form. There are different types of samples, the probability sampling and non-probability sampling. In non-probability sampling, in non-probability sampling, once again divided into stratified random sampling and quota sampling and also snowball sampling. So friends, in order to get a kind of a comprehensive understanding about a particular research or about a particular community, we should follow a scientific model of selecting a proper sample. Then only we are going to get very proper data, and we are going to be in a position to analyze the data in a systematic manner. So I'm extremely thankful to my friend Professor Jiauddin and the Department of Sociology for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Question. Thank you so much, sir. It was very enlightening for all of us. Questions के लिए time नहीं है, तो अगर if anyone has any question, can directly contact us, sir. So with this ends our today's session. I would like to call Mr. Asif for vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Asif, student in the Department of Sociology, Maulana Azad National Urdu University. It has been such an honor to get wonderful chance in this session. In five days workshop, research methodology workshop. On behalf of the Department of Sociology, Maulana Azad National Urdu University, Hyderabad, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed guest, Professor Nagaraju, Department of Sociology, University of Hyderabad. Sir did his lecture on understanding the sampling in a very comprehensive way. Thank you very much, sir, for your esteemed presence and presentation on this topic. Thank you very much. The session was presided over by Jafra. I forward my thanks to her for handling the session very beautifully. A sincere thanks to the head of the department, Professor P.H. Muhammad, sir, and the coordinator of the program, Dr. K.M. Ziauddin, sir, for handling the session throughout. Also, I thank to Dr. Saeed, sir, and Dr. Irtisham, sir, for their esteemed presence, and other faculty members and non-staffs. A special thanks to the beloved director of IMC MANUU, Mr. Rizwan Ahmed sir, and his entire team. In directorate, their unconditional support for live streaming this session very beautifully. Also, I thank to the and a wide round of applause to all the participants who made this event very beautifully and memorable one, and a great success. Thank you, one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, Asif, Farha, and Osama, all of you there, for having made this event your event. You all managed, you all, in fact, planned and executed the entire event. Everybody, not students from the Department of Sociology, but all of you in the various departments. And my special thanks to a very dear and warm friend, Professor Nagaraju, for always accepting any invitation which is concerning to the students. Friends, you will be very happy to know that he is one of the very popular teacher in the University of Hyderabad. And this I'm not saying because he is my friend. I hear it from many students whom I know, and they don't know that we both are friends. So that makes that, and that is the reason every vice chancellor of HCU doesn't leave him. All the time he'll have one or the other very important responsibilities in HCU, at time provost somewhere. Now he is a dean of student welfare, and I'm sure he'll never be spared whenever he is there in the campus because of his warm and very welcoming relationship with the students. So thank you for being with us. And we wanted to have him offline today, but then he had a lot of engagements. So sooner or later, we'll have one engagement where Professor Nagaraju will talk to you here in the campus, and then you can engage and see that what kind of energy he has. He will kill energies of everyone, the kind of momentum in terms of not only students' activities, but also his writings. He has international peer-reviewed paper. Every 6 months, you will have 1 or 2 papers coming up. He is active member of Indian Sociological Society, and where not. So these all praise are not for Nagaraju as a friend, but for an academic friend who has been very consistent in sociology. So thank you so much, sir, for being with us, and we wish that you visit the department sooner or later. Thank you all.
Sure, sir. Thank you very much, dear sir. Thank you very much.